It's the Solar One Sci-Fi Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Solar One Sci-Fi Podcast. I'm Michael Ball.
I'm joined once again by the demigod of knowledge, Martin Fowler.
And this week we are also joined by another demigod of sci-fi knowledge from a wonderful YouTube channel called SciTrek. Stargate is his theme, and this is why he's on today. And that is Jay from SciTrek. Hello, Jay.
Hello, Jay. How are you?
Are you all right?
Hello, Michael. I do like being a demigod, but I think I'm more. I think I can get more like God. So let's just go with.
So I'm going to call you God in the future.
Okay, that's fine by me.
Well, it's nice to have you on. Basically, one thing we've not reviewed, we've done all the Stargate series, and Jay and I got talking recently about something, I think because you do some stuff on your channel, and we've never reviewed the original movie. And this is nearly 160 episodes, and this is the thing that started it all. So you had to come on board for this one, didn't you, really? So, I mean, it was important for that, to get your perspective as a proper Stargate fan.
Well, it would have been rude not to.
Yes, totally agree.
Well, thank you for coming on board. So before we go into the actual topic, how are you both? What have you two been up to? Anything good? Anything you want to report to the world, or just sort of like pootling along?
For me, I'm very impressed with Ahsoka.
Now, I don't think Jay's seen it yet, so we won't give you too many spoilers.
I haven't seen today's episode.
No spoilers then.
I've not seen today's episode.
Right. No, I haven't seen today's.
I've seen
today's. I haven't today's.
Oh, okay. All right. So there is a couple of surprises today. I will say for you two though that this one was one of the weaker episodes out of the 7, I'd say, but it does have a nice. Let's just say a familiar face appears in this episode. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. Another one.
Another one.
I had to do so much research because of this series. I mean, every character pops up, I'm like, well, I've got to Google him now as well. And it's because I didn't watch a lot of the
Rebels. Yeah. Now this is the thing, you see. I have seen them, and it is harder to actually get into it if you haven't seen the animated series. I think you can still get by without it, but you're at a disadvantage, I think. But I mean, I know that Star Wars is probably more of a Star Trek and Stargate fan than Star Wars, aren't you, Jay? I think.
Yeah.
So I mean, how do you feel about the series as we're nearly done with it?
I think it's a lot better than Series 3 Mandalorian.
I do too.
I'm still not a big fan of the space whales, but apparently that's a big thing in the lore, so I'm not
Purgles, I think they're called. Is it Purgles?
Purgles, yep.
Yeah.
Apparently I'm not allowed to say that that's stupid.
Didn't they have a space whale in Doctor Who in the beginning? There was an episode with...
Yeah.
Well, no, there was an episode where there was this whale or something in space, and it had the cities on it. It had like England on it and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. I remember.
It had something similar in that, didn't it? And of course, and also
that's one. Stupid. Sorry, I wanted to mention. Did you see the new Doctor Who trailer?
I did.
Right.
It looked quite okay. What do you both think of that? I thought it was quite good. Yeah, I'm definitely on board for seeing it. Martin, what do you think of it?
I thought the trailer was okay. It seemed quite action-packed. It seemed there was a lot in there, but like I said, when we see it, it could be a different story. So I'm sat on the fence.
Yeah.
I like that it still looks like BBC Doctor Who, and they've got all this extra, Disney money to play with.
to actually give it a bit more of a kick into it. Yeah.
Some of the CGI looks a bit nicer. They've got quite a big star to play the Toy Master, and things like this. So they're using the money, but it still looks like Doctor Who. I was worried it was going to look a bit like. Remember when they did that Doctor Who movie years ago with
Paul McGann?
Paul McGann, yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to make it look like glossy movie for the American audience, and it really should.
That's right.
They haven't. I think they might have actually used the money quite wisely. So let's see.
But it's not long to go. Not long to go. We'll certainly find out. We'll certainly be reviewing that when that comes aboard next month. November, isn't it? All right. On that note, because we're going to do a short episode this week, we're going to focus. We'll go straight into our focus of the week. So here we go.
Yes.
It's the Solar Sci-Fi Focus of the Week.
All right, so this film is a little-known film from 1994. I think Roland Emmerich was the guy involved with it, who I know from things like Independence Day, Godzilla, and all sorts of other sort of big-budget sort of films. And there's a few well-known actors in it. A guy called Kurt Russell, who I think I remember very. Now, of course, I know Kurt Russell. I mean, I'm a big fan of The Thing, lots of his movies, and James Spader as well. I remember from Mannequin. He played this greasy-haired guy in this old comedy series from the 80s, and he had his hair greased up. And I think he might have done that. No, he must have done it before Stargate. Anyway, it's Stargate we're talking about. So I suppose that the first question to ask is, how did you both encounter it? Obviously, I know, Jay, you're a huge fan of the TV franchise. So let's ask you first. How did you encounter the original movie?
I was a massive fan of Kurt Russell, but in particular James Spader. I just think James Spader is one of the best actors of our generation. I think he's amazing. So I remember, 1994, I was 17. So I didn't get it at the cinema. I don't think I ever went to the cinema back then because we were poor, tiny little violin, but I didn't go to the cinema. But I got the DVD or the video. It would have been the video.
Yeah, video. Yeah. Okay.
Because as soon as any movie, Kurt Russell. This was a bit of a lull in Kurt Russell's career. This was a bit of like a comeback for him. He's had 2 or 3 big comebacks.
He had some dips, didn't he? I think that's right. Yeah.
But as soon as this came out, I'm a big sci-fi fan, so I remember thinking, "Oh, this looks great. I'm watching this." I'd never heard of. Obviously, Roland Emmerich with Dean Devlin wrote this.
That was one of their early works together, wasn't it? I think it was one of their early collaborations.
Roland Emmerich directed. It's considered his breakthrough role.
Yes, that's right.
I always, even back then, I was a bit of an alien nerd and UFOs and things, so I knew the ancient alien stories this was kind of based on.
Right.
They actually got sued because a student thought that they'd stolen the idea off him.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, in '95, they actually got sued twice.
Really? Oh dear.
Nice.
Accused of stealing the idea.
Okay.
But they did steal the idea. So, because it's an ancient alien theory, it's been around for.
It's not a new theory, is it?
Yeah, the Stargate conspiracy. For centuries.
There's supposed to be one in Syria, apparently.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
The ancient theory, but Roland Emmerich's got a massive thing with the ancient alien theory. I mean, even Independence Day was about UFOs and crashed UFOs.
Yeah. He had some parallels.
Do you mind if I just go off track for a second? Have you been following what's been going on in Mexico? I'm like you, a massive UFO thing. Have you been following that with the bodies?
If that turns out to be another hoax, the Mexican government are going to look like fools. The main doctor, I'm sorry I forget his name, but the main doctor that's sort of been doing the research on this and does the genetic thing, he has been caught hoaxing before.
Don't
take
it to salt.
And what do you think to the Senate hearings with that? Emmett worked in all the secret departments in the Pentagon and came forward. Have you?
There's a couple of Republican senators in particular that are really pushing for this, and it's been going on for a while now. So, and this really has come back from like the TikTok video and speedster videos and things that's really kickstarted this. The main guy who is genuine, did work for the government, did work for these things, has never actually seen a UFO himself, but he spoke to lots of people, so there's that immediately. You get people like Commander Fravor, though, and it's very difficult to ignore them when they're saying, I've got 20 years experience, I saw this thing myself, and I don't know what I was looking at. That's very difficult to just dismiss.
Right.
It does seem to be getting serious, and that's very interesting.
I hope so. I really do hope so. Because finally, I think it's time now for disclosure.
But it's been in the news quite a lot recently, as you say. There's been lots of sort of meetings with all sorts of things, and announcements and declarations. So it does seem to be becoming more prominent in the news that there is more of a disclosure, perhaps, of something. So it is a very interesting times we're living in. So it's we could get some sort of big stuff coming along. Hopefully, I hope it does. I hope it happens.
I was going to say, I did 4 years doing a YouTube channel before I started SciTrek. I'm called Mystery Machine, and we used to look at UFOs, mysteries, all these sorts of things. And I'll tell you what, the main reason why I stopped it is because when you look at these things with an open mind, 95% of the time, it's nonsense, or there's another explanation.
Yeah, I used to be in a UFO group. It used to meet every Tuesday in a pub, and it started off being very serious at first. Then there were certain people that turned up, and it started getting a bit silly, you know. And it was such a shame because the people had just seen things, and it was that, and then we got the next level, which you were sat there thinking, "Oh, come on." You know, but just for saying things.
Yeah, you look at some of the big names in the ufology, though. They've all got.
Stephen Greer, yeah.
You know, it's like Dr. Greer. The man's a con artist.
Yeah.
He's a
the Disclosure Project.
But in fact, did any of these UFO sort of fans ever think that the ancient pyramids were landing sites for alien spaceships?
Just
linking it back together, you see?
Yeah, all right. Yeah, sorry. I was just curious, but you do make a great point. The landing struts for the Hattacks,
the Hattacks.
But what did you guys think? I mean, I loved this movie from as soon as it came out, but what was your memory of it when it came out?
Let's ask Martin. Yeah, go on, Martin. Let's see.
I'd seen. I think I'd seen Men in Black. Did that
about
come
the
out
same
before?
time, aren't they? Similar time.
Yeah,
I'm not sure which is
I
first.
remember the trailer for Stargate: A New World of Adventure. You know when you saw the special effects in the cinema. I was in my 20s, and I went to see it, and I went straight back in.
Did you?
Went straight back.
You went back in?
Yeah, it
wow.
blew me away. It was
that
so
good?
different. And do you know what I loved about it was, I know the aliens, but the beginning when he's like, he has that thing in the hotel, and they're all mocking him, and then they take him to that Cheyenne Mountain. And I love the scene with Kurt Russell where they have the body of one of the Jafar warriors like all mangled up because he came back through when they shut the gate. I love that, and I just found this film absolutely amazing, and I wanted to see. I remember after I'd seen it several times, I wanted a sequel. Blew me away, and then we got a TV series. But that film, it stands alone. Does that film? It is awesome.
I think from my perspective, what I liked about it, first of all, it had one of the most wonderful musical scores of any movie I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I think the Stargate actual theme is just a wonderful piece of work. It had some great humour in it. I thought James Spader and Kurt Russell, the way they were very different perspectives, and you had Daniel Jackson sneezing and all this sort of stuff, which was really good. It was really, it just stood out. First of all, the idea of a portal which looks like water when it's opened. I don't know why that's so unique, but it's a very, very clever idea. And the actual idea of a sort of secret organization or US government thing where they're actually trying to get this thing to open. And I just think that the whole, I mean, I like the recurring characters like Skara, who was one of the characters that actually came back for the TV series. I think, to be honest with you, I did like the movie a lot. Perhaps maybe not quite as much as you two did when I first watched it. But Stargate SG-1 actually makes the movie, for me, it's actually just made it even better. Because it is how it all started. So you can. I know there are some slight differences between the TV show and the movie, although it's generally like O'Neill's only got one L and all this sort of stuff. But for me, this is how it all started, and yeah, I think it's a very, very special series.
I thought SG-1 and I thought Brad Wright took a brilliant movie, and I loved the film and perfected it.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
And said, right, we got to. There's certain parts of this film that don't quite make sense. The gold don't quite make sense, so we're going to clean that up and sort it out.
Change that slightly,
do series. And it really, no, they took a nub of brilliance and just made it even better, 100%.
Did you know what I found interesting, like the human element to this, when the two Air Force officers went round to O'Neill's house?
Oh, to say that the son had been killed.
He was going to blow his brains out.
Yeah, that's right.
And his wife, she'd given up because the son had accidentally shot himself with his gun. And basically, either look, we need you for this mission, but it's one way, and somebody who's prepared to, he's got nothing to live for.
That's why he went there. That's why he went on the mission.
And then the growth from that, because the Stargate it does something from the universe. It changes him, which I think in the series ran beautifully about a man with that much pain.
Change perspective.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, do you think that because Richard Dean Anderson did play it differently from Kurt Russell, do you think there was a discontinuity that you have to both get used to it, or do you think it flows from the fact that what you just said, Martin, was that he was a changed character by the time of SG-1 because of his experience in the movie? Is that how you both perceive it? Are you both frozen now? A second.
I think it's just different. And
Right,
sorry, my internet connection. So I think it's just different, to be honest. There's just a different, like I said, there was a lot more meat on the bones there. Daniel Jackson was different. Even though Michael Shanks did an impression, basically James Spader at first.
At the beginning, he did. Yeah.
But there was a lot more meat on those bones in the series. And I mean, Richard Dean Anderson came in very specifically saying, I want to play this a certain way. I want to play this as Richard Dean Anderson. And thank God he did.
Okay.
It needed a lot more to it, because his character in, Kurt Russell's version, suicidal at the start, you couldn't play it with humour, you couldn't play it any other way. So, I mean, I think it was quite flat. So that couldn't have continued into the series. There needed to be more layers to it. And I think that's why it's not only important that he did it differently, it was necessary, but it was O'Neill with 2 L's.
That's right.
It's always suggested. Yeah. Is the series a different universe to the movie?
Yeah, I think there is. There are enough differences, but it's kind of, we just think, well, what the hell? I mean, I think personally it works very well as a TV show of an alien world of the week, with some arcs, and they go to a planet where it's connected to a black hole, or you get an episode where there's the medieval thing with panning and all these wonderful ideas. But I mean, I have to ask you two, because obviously there were plans for Emmerich to come back and make a sequel to the original movie, which, from what I understand, I know it never happened, but it would have been a very interesting concept. So how do you both feel about that, if they'd have made a direct sequel to the original movie?
It's funny enough, I was thinking, I wanted to ask you this, that I read that there were 2 sequels planned, and that in the original film, it wasn't Ra, it was like a caretaker alien, and then Ra turns up in the sequel, and then the third one, is it Atlantis? Was that the plan of the original 3? It was something like that.
My understanding was that the second movie was going to be about based in around the Mayan pyramids.
Oh, okay.
Oh, really?
And a lot of their mythology. So it was going to be a very similar movie in certain ways to the original Stargate.
Okay.
And then the third one was apparently going to be completely different. It was going to have all sorts. The only thing I can remember off the top of my head was, apparently Roland Emmerich talked about how there was going to be the Yeti in it. There was going to be Loch Ness Monster in it.
Okay, really?
Okay. And it was all going to apparently tie the first 2 movies together and do and God knows. But in 2015, this was greenlit. Roland Emmerich was.
That's what I heard about. That's why I brought it up. I know. Yeah, it was getting quite serious at one point. Then it's all.
So they were going to sort of use like mythology from all the centuries of different things in the 3 movies.
It was going to tie in a lot of mythology from all over the planet.
Okay.
Was basically the theory. I've never heard that Ra was coming back, but
I read an article in SFX magazine years ago, and they said that the first alien was like the caretaker. He worked for Ra. They got rid of him, and then Ra turned up. And then somehow it all goes to Earth. That's what were in the SFX magazine. So, because I thought they played them, apparently, I could be wrong, but they played the sequels out in the Stargate series in different formats. Is that right, or?
Not that I've heard.
No, I've not heard that either.
Because, I mean, Brad Wright and Robert Cooper and that did actually try to speak to Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin. And they did try to get their ideas of how the movies were going to develop and all those things. And Dean Devlin and Roland Emmerich had absolutely no interest in having those conversations.
So I heard that
you do you, we'll do us sort of thing.
Yeah,
and,
I heard that as well. Yeah,
they weren't unpleasant about it or anything. They were just like, look, it wouldn't be helpful, sort of thing. You do you.
Yeah,
and I
they
think
didn't want a
probably...
collaboration, did they? They just saw it as like, oh, this is this TV series. That's fine what they're doing, but this is not what we're going to be involved with, the kind of thing. I heard about that as well, which is a shame.
Roland Emmerich, to be honest, has been a bit when he's been asked about doing the Stargate, sort of back in. So right, the current rumor is we're going to be getting a Stargate movie, new movie. It's going to be an SG-1 revival.
Yeah.
So about 18 months ago, Amazon were already thinking about this. The problem is, though, that Roland Emmerich is contracted that if they do a straight-to-cinema movie, or any movie, it looks like, that Roland Emmerich has to be involved. So they asked him about it all that time ago.
That's interesting.
This idea.
Right.
He then talked about it in an interview, though, and said, look, I am contracted to this. I will have to do this if there's a movie. I'm going to have to be connected to it somehow. But it's very clear to me that Amazon are only interested in the TV audience. They're not interested in rebooting the movie. Right. It's what I wanted, which is what he wants to do. So we can all say thank God to that one. But,
yes, yeah, no, I agree. I think they should build on the established canon.
Yeah, Roland Emmerich has told us exactly what Amazon are going to do. He told us over a year ago.
I suppose at this point, I mean, the one thing I like about your channel is that you do know some people in the background who have got some information about this prospective new sort of movie. Now, like I said, it's been at one point it might have been a TV show, it might have been a movie. I mean, if at the moment it sounds like it's going to be a movie of some sort, I suppose you wouldn't know whether it would be a direct continuation of the SG-1 series or whether it would be more of a link to the original movie. Have you any idea about how it might go?
Yeah, pretty much. What the different people I've spoken to have always said was that Amazon's idea has always been that it will be a continuation. They want an SG-1 revival.
Okay.
So it wants to be continue that. But there's a understanding that new creators are going to want to do things slightly differently. So don't expect it to be, verbatim exactly the same as it was. Certain things they will allow to change, which is why about, oh God, no, what is it now? What month is it? It would have been about a year ago now. God, this year has gone, and
it is going really fast. Yeah, I agree about that.
It would have been a year ago now. Mark Fergus, apparently one of the guys that developed The Expanse, was asked by Amazon to do a Bible, and that would be a do's and don'ts for whoever then does the movie of like, this is what you can mess with, and this is canon that you can't touch. Because I mean, I think that's just being practical in a way, in that time has moved on. Certain things are going to be a little different. Creators are going to have slightly different ideas, but it still has to feel like Stargate. I wish Star Trek had done that with Kurtzman.
The one thing I was going to say, the way you're describing this, is it's making me fearful that this would be for Star Trek what Star Trek Discovery was for Star Trek when it came back.
Well, no, because Discovery was very much a hybrid between the movies, the J.J. Abrams movies,
yes,
and some ideas with the series.
Okay.
Star Trek's got better as it's gone back towards the original.
Slowly sorted itself out.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. As they've got better at that. But the Discovery, particularly in the first season, was so far away from the Braga Trek. Yeah. That's why it annoyed some people. And they have ignored canon so many times. But this is what Gene Roddenberry did when the Braga Star Treks, when TNG came back. He created a Bible. It was like the first thing he did. And this is like, these are the rules that you have to stick by.
That's right.
And Braga apparently stuck to them religiously, even after Roddenberry's passing. Unfortunately, Kurtzman didn't.
No.
I'm just going to bring Stargate back.
Sure.
Let's follow the rules, that Amazon. But Amazon seem to be genuinely trying to do something that us fans are going to enjoy. They seem to know that they don't want fans to go crazy over this.
Good.
So let's.
Good. Yeah, like I said, it's just very interesting because at one point, if it was like a reboot, then which you're saying it sounds like it's not, then of course it makes me think of the original movie, whether they would have obviously tried to, like Star Trek Into Darkness was in some ways like a reboot of The Wrath of Khan, whether they might have done something in a similar premise, which I don't think a lot of people would have liked, even though, the original movie stands as it is, as a great original catalyst for the Stargate franchise. Look how far it's gone, and we don't want to see a different kind of beginning, a different Ra, a different O'Neill. We want to see, as you say, it would spoil it. Don't reboot it, and it sounds like they're not going to do that, which is the one thing I was worried about.
I mean, for me, I want established. You can't mess with the established canon. We're all big fans of it, and I want to see the Stargate open to the world now. I want the whole world to know. I want to see a new political situation, because I watched Disclosure on Sunday. Where the McKinsey
and all the people around. Yeah, I remember the one. Yeah.
Thor turns up and he does all that with his finger, and I want to. Where is it all now? Where is it? Is Earth a power in the galaxy now? I really want to go down that path, a new threat. That's amazing.
They've got 12 years they've got to fill in.
Oh, that's so interesting now. I can imagine what they could have done in 12 years. I mean, we had an idea in the episode 2010, which at that point was set about 9 years after the episode was made. And then that alternate timeline, the Stargate project, had been actually disclosed to the world. And it was like an airport, wasn't it, where there's a Stargate and you could sort of go there. So it would be interesting how, in this perspective, how it could actually follow on from how SG-1 Atlantis and Universes, it wasn't solved, would continue. I think that would be really interesting.
Brad Wright says that it has to be released to the public. It would be morally objectionable at this point for it not to be revealed to the public. Imagine all the technology. We keep giving that good of generators to people on all these different planets, and we're still burning fossil fuels on Earth. It doesn't really make sense anymore.
But they did find a very clever way in Stargate. One episode, they released the technology through corporations, didn't they? The government set up
that was in Stargate Atlantis, that they were feeding.
Oh, that's right. I remember one.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
the
right.
nanotechnology and things was being fed through the government. Which that's an ancient aliens theory as well. If you go back to Roland Emmerich and his ideas. I was going to say though, do you know how actually the original Stargate movie was received when it came out?
No, I don't. No. How was it received?
Badly.
Really?
Really?
Right, so get Rotten Tomatoes. This is one more example of why you should ignore Rotten Tomatoes at all times. It only scored 52% on release.
Oh, okay.
No.
There's a guy. Basically, there's some mixed reviews. Some people liked it, but generally, the general idea was that it was corny characterizations, too many special effects, and very thin storyline. And a guy called Robert Ebert, which was quite a big movie guy in America at the time,
gave it. He like Barry Norman over here? He were like the equivalent to Barry Norman.
Yeah, equivalent to Barry Norman in America. He gave it 1 star and said it was one of the most hateful films he'd ever seen.
What?
So
it's funny that I think
know that.
I think The Thing, when that came out, that also got a bad review. So it's funny how certain films. They build up a reputation after some films improve with age, some films look worse with age, and I think that from my perspective it still looks really good in.
But Jay, was Stargate, was it an actual big hit then? Was it was a
massive hit.
Oh, it was a hit though. It was a hit. Okay.
$55 million to make. MGM actually bought it, or bought the rights to it from Studio Canal for $15 million. So they actually lost a crap load of money because Studio Canal were terrified it was going to be a massissive flop.
Right.
So MGM went, okay, yeah, we'll have it, but we'll pay you $15 million for it. It then went on to make $200 million worldwide.
Wow.
Hence, that's why they made a TV series. That's why it was. Yeah, exactly. That's really.
It had the highest opening October weekend ever at that point. And it held that record for 4 years until Ants came out. So had the highest opening weekend in October. I don't know if October's not a great month movie. I don't know.
No idea.
But it's still the 10th highest grossing movie of all time for MGM.
Okay, that's really interesting.
Wow. So it's done okay.
All right, so I suppose at this point, because we'll be wrapping up in a minute, well, let's rate to start. I mean, this is going to be a high number. How do you rate Stargate? Because we always do this every week, out of 10. Jay, as a guest, I'd imagine it would be a high number. What would you rate Stargate, the original movie, out of 10?
It's a solid 9, to be honest, because it is one of the classic sci-fi. Then TV show stand great sci.
Okay, all right, you're breaking up a bit there. Martin, are you still there?
I think I might have lost you again.
That's right.
I was going to say, do you know what classic movie? Yeah. Actually, do you know what classic original movie the Stargate movie is based on?
No.
The Time Travellers, where they step through that TV screen.
No. The Seven Samurai. So,
Really?
you know the...
Really?
Yeah, the Three Amigos, sort of that storyline. The basic storyline is there's a bad guy, there's the local population, they're enslaved by it. A team
Of
arrives,
course, yes.
helps,
Yeah.
helps the people stand up and rise up against the big villain. That's basically what Stargate
That's how
is.
it was.
You are right. Yeah, I never really thought of it in that way. You are right, yeah.
Magnificent Seven right again, that's the basic storyline. And that's what... So look, to be honest, the people that wrote the Seven Samurai really need to sue Roland Emmerich.
Don't tell them about that. All right, Martin, what would you rate it out of 10?
I'm going to give it a 9 as well, because I agree. Everything what Jez just said, I totally agree with. It stands out, even with this film, stands out, and it's in my top 10 movies of all time. So,
all right, I'll be the same. I'm going to give it a 9. I was going to sort of like pretend to be give it like a 2 or something, but I can't. I love it. It's a great movie. It really instigated a lot of. Well, it's obviously a huge franchise, and it's one of those sort of films where it creates something which has really been meaningful. I know it has been for you, Jay. It has been for me as well. I mean, I got into it quite late. I'll very quick say before we run out of Zoom time that I really got into Stargate with the movie after SG-1. It was on like Sky TV, and I watched the first couple of seasons of that. And I really suddenly clicked with Stargate, with the TV show, which made me love the movie, like I've already said, much more when I went back to it after seeing all the new content from the TV series. So it's one of my highest rated series I've ever watched, and hopefully.
Well, do you want to know a fun Stargate fact to end on?
Go on.
That I've always loved this fact. So when they were making the original movie, they had to make the whoosh, when the Stargate opens.
Yeah.
And they did that with water, basically. They got an air gun, and they put it into the water, so they got the whoosh.
Okay.
Right? 5 could weigh too much. We'll try it with 100 pounds of force. After they did it, everyone was very wet because it just exploded. In the end, they did it with 1 pound of force to get the whoosh.
Just the right thing.
And I've just always loved it.
And I will say, the sound of death gliders you see in the movie at some shots when they go flying is the sound of the Stargate closing in the SG-1 TV series. When it's all like that. Yeah, because I'm a real sound geek, and it is the same sound. When it flies out, that is the same sound when it actually closes on the soldering. Jay, we're going to sign off because Zoom's
playing
up.
And when SG-1 came out...
Go on.
Oh, okay, I'm off.
Yeah, I think so. No, go on, we've got 1 minute. Go on, give us a quick fact. Go on.
SG-1, because it had no money, used all of the special effects from the movie. So every time we see a death glider in this first and second season of Stargate SG-1, it's taken directly from the film.
Oh, I'd never noticed that. Oh.
No money for special effects.
But they got rid of the wires, though, because you can see the wires in the death gliders originally.
Yeah, and they changed the opening sequence in the 3rd season because somebody pointed out that the death mask was cross-eyed.
Really?
That's
there
why
we
they changed the
go.
opening sequence. Brad Wright just got sick of it. Because somebody pointed out to him, that's all he could see.
And
So
now I've never noticed that, and now I'm going to see that now forever. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Martin. We're going to sign off. We'll be back next week. Jay, come back soon. We love having you on board. And we'll catch you next time on the Solar One Sci-Fi podcast. Thank you, guys.
Live long and prosper.
Cheers.